Area Arts Collective presents Ruix Podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Eagle, and this is Ruix Podcast. We're at episode 5 here. Things have been hectic lately. A lot of things going on, at least in my life. You know, I'm back in school, as some of you know. I am in my final year of an associate's degree, and this semester in particular has got me at a full course load. And I'm not complaining. I'm not saying, I'm not being a puss or being dramatic and saying that I can't handle it. I'm just saying that it's a very real thing right now, and it's a lot to remember. And then I have this on top of it, and work at the record store. It's just an adjustment, after coming off of this past summer vacation, which just ended a couple of weeks ago. Which, some of you that know me might argue that my entire life is a summer vacation. I definitely have been known to work very much the bare minimum of hours at my jobs because I like to live sort of carefree, and I like to take it easy. But this is very much the opposite of that, is what I'm getting at. There's been an adjustment period, and I'm tired a lot, but I love doing this, and I'm glad that you guys keep tuning in. I appreciate it so much. And I also have to make room in my life for DAAC shows, as you all know. And the mother of all DAAC shows just happened last Saturday, in fact, the salon opening, which I've been talking about on this very show and in my Tumblr, on my Tumblr page every week. And the opening reception went off great. It was just a really great time, a awesome turnout. So many people came out to, check out the artists' works and just support our organization here in general. And it's always nice to see. And I have to give kudos, obviously, to Yvonne Simmons Falls and her tireless efforts, along with all the board members and all of the DAAC volunteers that helped her make this show the success that it was. It's just it couldn't have gone better. And I'll obviously thank you to Dave Zolo for coming in and performing 3 sets that night. That was great. Everything about that night was great, and as some of you may know, the artwork is actually going to stay up until October 2nd. It's going to coincide with the Fall Into Art Tour, which is the 2nd and 3rd of October. And that's going to be, it's basically an annual downtown walking tour of different, galleries. And DAAC is a participating gallery this year. So if you didn't get a chance to come to the reception, do try and make it down to DAAC Gallery before the 2nd and check out some of the artists' work, because it was, like I said, it was a great show. And thanks, obviously, to all the artists involved who hung their art and stood by it and talked with people. It was just a very great time. The closing reception of the salon will feature the Multiple Cat from the Quad Cities. That's Pat Stoley's band. Pat is a pretty well-known recording engineer around these parts. He's recorded a lot of Iowa bands, a lot of different bands anyway, but notable Iowa bands would include my old band, Old Panther. We actually did one of our 3 unreleased records with Pat, and it came out great. It is on our Bandcamp. Old Panther, Jesus Christ, I don't even remember it. I think it's Old Panther Band or Old Panther DBQ.bandcamp.com. It's called the Stoley Sessions if you ever want to hear them. But anyway, the Multiple Cat, who are the multiplecat.bandcamp.com, that is his project that's been around since, probably the late 80s, early 90s. And it's always Pat, and I'm pretty sure like just a revolving lineup of supporting band members. Excuse me. Just a great band. and worth checking out. So they're going to be at the closing reception along with Dylan Sayers and the Neighbors, and they are out of Waterloo, I believe. Yeah. So lots of good stuff coming up in the way of DAAC. We have also got another music series show coming up. That would be Music Series 6 on September 27th, and that's going to feature two more Quad Cities bands, Sept of Memnon and National Razor. This is a metal show. We just liked how that last metal show went so well that we're gonna do it again. And then from Dubuque, Mutilated by Zombies, and opening the show is going to be Pat Gilligan's "I Like You Go Home" noise project. So that should be a good one as well. Don't forget, it's September 27th, and donations are taken at the door, 7 o'clock doors. Whatever you think. Now, today my guest is... Hold on. That whole part was okay, but like that whatever you think that I said at the end, I don't...
Also said National Razor.
Did I really? God damn it. Okay, so should I do the whole thing again? Because now I don't remember where I said that. I wrote National Razor too. It's National.
Really?
It's National Hero, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. That was chipping along at an okay pace too. Hello, everybody. My name is John Eagle, and this is the Ruix podcast. Welcome back. This is episode 5, and it's been going well. But I got to tell you, like I've been back in school. As some of you know, I have been working on an associate's degree that I started way back in the 90s, and I just decided to start chipping away at it a couple of years ago. And this should be my final year, but this particular semester is a full course load, and along with podcast stuff and the blog that I write, it's just sometimes it's a little much. I'm by no means complaining. I'm not being a puss or being dramatic in any way. I am just saying that there's been an adjustment since summer ultimately ended, and some of you that know me might argue that my entire life has been a summer vacation, and that would be partially true. I try and make it a point to work only the bare minimum and try and get by with that. That's just how I am. I don't know. I don't like to work. Unfortunately, I need to do it to make money sometimes. But anyway, like I said, I am not complaining. It's just my schedule is full, and there has been an adjustment. And I haven't, I have to allow enough time. I'm going to start that over. Hello, everyone. My name is John Eagle, and welcome to the Ruix podcast. This is episode 5 now, and I'm so glad to, be able to continue doing these things. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and continuing to listen. It means a lot, and it supports not only me and Ruix, but the Dubuque Area Arts Collective too. So thank you. It is getting increasingly harder and harder with my schedule filling up so much. As some of you know, I am back in school now. I started to work on an associate's degree. Actually, I started it in like the late 90s, but I am finishing it. I went back about 2 years ago, and now I'm in my final year, and this is the fullest course load I've ever taken. So between that and podcast stuff and the blog, it's becoming quite the adjustment, especially compared to, a couple of weeks ago when it was still summer, technically summer vacation, which, some of you may that know me may argue that my entire life's a summer vacation. And you would probably be right. I work very minimally, and that's intentional. Unless I'm working for myself, which, I had the record store for a while, but once that closed, it was time to try something new. So shifting gears, got back into school, and I don't know. I'm glad. I don't know where it's going to lead, but we'll just see. Time will tell. But it also does, like I have to make room in my schedule for all these great shows that we continue to put on in the Ruix headquarters. Because as you know, our shows down here that we've been putting on at the Ruix space have been going well. The attendance has been good, and this last one, the mother of all DAAC shows, was no exception. That was the DAAC opening reception of the Salon Show this past Labor Day weekend on Saturday. The attendance was great, and all the artists that were hanging that day were great as well. And I got to give kudos to Yvonne Simmons Falls, and of course the board members and volunteers of DAAC that she had with her that helped make the show the success that it was. And of course all the artists, and thank you everybody that attended for showing up and lending support to our organization. It means a lot. Thanks to Dave Zolo, of course, for playing 3 great sets that night. It was just a great time all around. Lots of finger sandwiches and cups of wine and things of that nature consumed by all. I don't remember if there were finger sandwiches or not. Some kind of bruschetta or something. I don't know. I usually just take advantage of the free alcohol at these things and not really the food. But I heard the food was good. But anyway, again, a success. And don't forget, if you weren't able to make it to that opening reception, the artwork will be hanging in the DAAC studio through September and into early October. The closing reception is actually on October 2nd. And the artwork will hang and be taken down, to coincide with the annual Dubuque Fall into Art Tour, which is basically a walking tour of downtown art galleries, checking out different artworks. And DAAC is a participating gallery this year, and probably last year too. I don't actually remember, but and then the closing reception will feature the live music by the Multiple Cat, which is a band out of the Quad Cities run by Pat Stoley. I believe it's always just been Pat Stoley, and then like sort of a revolving door of a revolving lineup of contributors in that band since he started it way back in probably, I guess it was like the late 80s, early 90s or something. I don't know. I know I discovered them when I was still in high school, so they've been around for quite a while. And I got to work with Pat a little bit myself, maybe about 8 years ago, something like that. He recorded one of the 3 unreleased albums from my old band, Old Panther. And it sounds great. Hopefully one day it will be released. It is up on our Bandcamp. I can't remember the Bandcamp site name anyway. It's like Old Panther dbq.bandcamp.com or something like that. I don't know. And he's recorded a lot of other Iowa artists as well, like Samuel Locke Ward and Crash and lots more that I'm forgetting right now. But his band, The Multiple Cat, will be playing at the closing reception, along with Dylan Sires and the Neighbors. They're out of Waterloo. So that should be a good show, too. DAAC Music Series, Part 6 now, I guess it is coming up, too. And it's going to be a metal show again. That's going to be September 27th. We had such a blast doing a metal show at the last one with Dredge, Aseeth, and Venereal Crush that we're going to do it again. This time with Sept of Memnon and National Hero out of the Quad Cities, and Mutilated by Zombies from right here in Dubuque, and then Pat Gilligan's Noise Project, where he fusses with bells and whistles. I Like You Go Home. And that should be fun. That should be a fun time. Like usual, 7 o'clock, donations appreciated. Okay, this is episode 5 of the Ruix podcast. My name is John Eagle, and with me today is my good friend Jason Benson. How are you, buddy?
Great, good to be here.
Good to have you here. Thanks for finding time on your Labor Day weekend to do it.
Always a pleasure.
I guess I kind of want to start out. You and I have been friends for probably 5-6 years, something like that, and I think, through our mutual friend and your brother-in-law, Ian. And I think it was maybe a year we were already hanging out before I realized that you played drums in Mount Shasta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I thought this would make a good podcast, because I had Alan here not too long ago. And I thought, maybe you might have some of the same stories. You were label mates after all, and probably played a shitload of shows together. So
We shared some fun times.
yeah, absolutely. And I know you guys run into each other quite a bit, at events here and there. So how did, can you give me a little bit of a history on when Mount Shasta started, how you met those guys?
Yeah, so we had all sort of moved to Chicago at the same time, and John and I ended up working at Touch and Go together, and just started hanging out. Didn't really know that each other played music or had been in bands before.
Right.
We just would go and grab beers after work and entertained each other. We were both transplants from the South, so we'd talk about the things we hated about Chicago and the things we missed about being in the South, and things we liked about Chicago and why we both decided to leave the South.
Right.
And just quickly became good friends, and then quickly realized that we were both sort of out of band situations and decided to start playing together. And fortunate for us, we had a label before we had a band, because Mark worked with us too and was a mutual friend. And as soon as he found out that we were starting to write songs together, he agreed to put out the record before we even had a full band together. So
Right. Well, this is Mark
Fisher.
Mark Fisher, yeah.
Who
Skin
owns
Graft.
Skin Graft.
Totally. Okay.
So we had a mutual friend who's John's roommate that we taught to play bass, Jenny. And so the band was more about a bunch of friends getting together and having the opportunity to have a label who wants to put a record out and saying, well, we should start a band and do that then.
Right.
So we were both fresh in Chicago. And I think the first record I pretty much wrote on telephone books on the floor in their
really?
apartment. So using not even real drumsticks. I had no equipment there at all. So
Really?
some lean beginnings for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, every great band starts in lean beginnings, I find, anyway. So you were coming from North Carolina, right?
Right.
And where was John coming from?
He was from Atlanta.
He was coming from Atlanta. Okay. Is that where you were born in the South? Or?
Yeah, originally from North Carolina.
Okay, that's what I thought.
John
But
was
I know you went to
originally-
college there too, right?
Yeah, Chapel
At,
Hill.
Chapel Hill, right?
In the glory days of the indie music scene in Chapel Hill. So knew a lot of the local bands there and did an internship at a record label,
Which
Mammoth.
was? Oh, Mammoth,
Records
okay.
there
I remember that.
before
Squirrel
I
Nut
moved to
Zippers,
Chicago.
right? Around that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Chainsaw Kittens.
Oh yeah, I like that band.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How many major tours did you do with that band, Mount Shasta?
So we did quite a few. I think in the end we did 3 full-length records, handful of singles, and some one-off label projects and compilations and stuff.
Okay.
But we toured pretty regularly for 5 or 6 years. We would go out for
overseas at all, or
never overseas. We were going to go to Europe with Killdozer, and then something happened, and they pulled the pin at the last minute.
All
And
right.
we never really had professional booking until the last record, and then we got hooked up with Rave, and we toured for basically almost a year straight.
Oh, wow.
During that time.
Okay.
East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
but never got to leave the States, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There was a weird fluke where one record that we released was really popular in France.
Really? Which one was that one?
It was Put the Creep On.
Okay. I was just going to guess that one. That's a great one. That's my favorite one.
So there was a big push from radio stations there to have us come over and do 3 or 4 shows.
Okay.
And we just could never
Couldn't make it over.
work out the financing to make that happen.
Well, I know at least one of those tours brought you to Balltown, Iowa. I guess I probably didn't meet you then, but my band opened up for you guys. You and do you remember the band that played with? It was a Colossamite, I think it might have been.
I think it was.
Colossamite, which was Nick Sakes' band at the time,
Right.
and Beneath, and I think maybe one other local band. I can't remember, but I remember it being a rad show. I actually had one of the Gumball Head shirts for a long time. I don't remember what happened to it, but yeah, that was a really fun show.
I remember if it's the Iowa show I'm thinking about, I remember the building was cinder block and it was super humid and there was water running down the concrete
Very well
walls
could be.
inside, and it was just a very moist sweat pit. That's and lots and lots of drugs. That's what I remember about that show. Moist denim
and drugs.
sweating concrete bricks. Yeah.
Very well could be. I don't really remember much about the building itself. I remember it was out in the middle of nowhere in Balltown, which is right outside of Dubuque. And there were a bunch of shows booked at that place at the time. And they tended to look the other way when miners would drink beer in there, which is, definitely in my favor back then.
Yeah.
Do you have any other venues or shows in particular, or people that you met along the way that sort of stand out to you? Stories.
Some are really memorable. I remember we used to play at OK's in Madison quite a bit, and that was, I think it was our band kind of clicked with a lot of the locals there. They were
Sure, I could see that.
energetic party type crowd, and
Right.
we always had great response there, and it always seemed to be a especially good time when we would go up to Madison and play
Nice.
at OK's, and are always fun bands and really good local crowds.
Yeah.
It's funny, we never had as much of a following in Chicago as we did other places in the Midwest, and we used to joke at the time that we weren't cerebral enough for what was going on in Chicago.
Yeah.
Everything was a math band, and if you didn't write songs in weird time signatures, people couldn't be bothered to come out and see your set. So we tended to do better in party towns where people didn't take themselves so seriously and
Yeah.
did more drugs and were looking to go out and have a good time rather than sit and analyze music that was going on stage, because
No.
that's certainly not what we did.
No, totally. And I could see Madison being like that. It's still like that. It's a great town to play in. Really fun to visit even.
St. Louis too.
Yeah.
We used to do a lot of stuff with the Knicks bands in St. Louis, because that's where Mark Fisher was from, and
Okay.
Nick was a childhood friend of his. So there were a couple of St. Louis bands that were on the label.
Yeah.
So we always did shows out there quite a bit. And I don't remember the name of the place, but it was a pizza place downtown that had a bar and bands down in the basement.
Okay.
And it was also some of the more memorable shows.
Yeah.
Kind of
Party crowd.
party crowd, good time. Always very energetic.
Yeah. Okay. The one I don't even know why I want to bring this up. When I realized who you were, I remember the moment. It was when I had Unforgivable Records, and you and Ian were up shopping, and he picks up this Shakuhachi Surprise picture disc that I had, and he just kind of shows it to you and giggles. And I'm like, "Oh, you like that record? You know that record?" He's like, "Jason does," or something like that. And then it clicked. I was like,
No, what he said was, they're a pretty good band, but the drummer sucks.
"Oh yeah, that's right." That's right. Well, how did that, like, because that's like sort of a collab with Space Drinkings, right?
Right.
How did that record come to fruition?
So this
Because
is
I love
really-
that record. I think it's amazing.
It was a fun record, and I think about this a lot. I think about Kramer's take on the Galaxy 500 recordings, where he would always push them to go in the studio before they thought songs were done and record, and the idea that something gets lost if things become too polished or done, complete. And when I listen to that record now, I remember we had sheet music on music stands because all that stuff was so new and we just kind of struggled through it. But so what happened was they came to the States to do a tour, and we did a pretty, I think it was about 2 months, extended road trip with them.
Okay.
And while we were playing, their set, as you know, was pretty elaborate. They had a lot of strange equipment. Guitars with, chainsaw engines attached, and lots of drum machines and lots of things that lit up. So
I guess I didn't know that. I never got to see them live or anything.
Their live show was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
The chainsaw guitar was always a hit, and we'd always have to go and try and find the gas that it took before the shows. But it had a really long sound check. We were the opposite. Our sound checks usually took about 2 minutes.
That's how I've always been too.
And they would spend a lot of time on stage, and we spent a lot of time on stage with them, helping them do the sound checks. And we just started playing around. And it, by the end of 2 months, doing that every night, some material was starting to come out of that.
Oh, that's
and it was
awesome.
pretty interesting. So we had talked to Mark Fisher, the guy who owned the label, and he goes, "Oh, I think when you guys get back, you should nail that stuff out and let's record it and see where it goes." So we decided for the rest of the tour that we would proactively work on this with them, which was kind of hard because they didn't speak English at all.
Right,
and
totally.
we didn't speak Japanese. So there was a lot of drawing and hand gesturing and many practical jokes.
Right.
There's very good senses of humor. And it's, with John Forbes, there will be practical jokes at every
Totally,
turn.
yeah.
So we basically came up with the idea that we would both write songs and the other group would collaborate on the song. So one side of the record is songs that Mount Shasta wrote that they, Space Drinkings, sang on in English. And the other side they wrote and we sang on the lyrics in Japanese.
Oh, wow.
But I think we recorded it in one day when we got back from the tour. And we had one day before the recording to actually figure out where all the songs started and stopped. And that was basically all there was to the song structure. So
That's awesome.
really fun. And
Yeah, it came out great.
those guys were a lot of fun to travel with. It's a great experience.
Absolutely. Did you do a lot of shows or tours with Maple, US Maple?
Quite a bit. And it was interesting because, Chicago, as big of a music scene as it was kind of small in that if you played in that kind of band or you played at the same club, you sort of knew all the bands. And
Right.
it felt kind of like it feels here in Dubuque where, there's really one spot that everybody plays and everyone knows each other and the bands are sort of incestuous. And even though they were on the same label, we knew all of them long before, back when Al was in Shorty and we all hung out socially. And basically, after the first Mount Shasta record, John decided that he wanted to not have to play rhythm guitar to move the song along. He just wanted to make funny noises with the guitar and spend more time screaming and doing whatever he did vocally.
Yeah.
So Al decided to play rhythm guitar in Mount Shasta to kind of let John make more squealy noises with his guitar. So
That was my next question. I was curious how that came about when he joined the band.
we played a lot more with them after that, just because it was convenient.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We
Makes
were both
sense.
there, and he could do both shows. And
Yeah.
he, his role in Mount Shasta was very diminutive. And the first time that we played live, we decided that his sort of character in Mount Shasta was going to be Gonzalez. And so we stopped at a truck stop, and he bought a hairnet and would just button the top button of his shirt.
No way, really?
Yeah. So that was kind of his character for Mount Shasta. It was pretty laid back by Al standards.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Gonzalez. I'm going to have to call him that next time I see him. See if it rings a bell.
I think we bought those hairnets at the, I wore one that night too. I think the largest truck stop in America is where those were procured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why shouldn't you be able to buy a hairnet there? So what led up to the I guess what became the end of Mount Shasta? Like when did you guys sort of call it a day and go your separate ways?
I think for the members that were in that band, only really John was a lifer. You know, he can do other stuff. He does do other stuff. He does other art, but he always has to be in a band, and he always has to be performing.
Okay.
And I think for Jenny and myself, Carl to a lesser extent, because he still plays quite a bit, but I think for Jenny and I, it was more an opportunistic thing.
Yeah.
And the timing was right for us to do it, but
Okay.
we didn't eat, sleep, and dream about making records and touring. So after a while and things sort of ran their course, everybody started thinking about a life that, you know, had to come eventually, a career, money, you know, settling down a little, so
Reality,
to speak.
sure. Well, how long had you been playing drums before you met those guys and started that band?
Not that long, really, is pretty obvious if you listen to the first record. I hadn't.
Well, with that in mind, I will listen to it again.
Yeah. I had only played a full drum kit before when I played in a jazz band in high school.
Okay.
So I didn't have a ton of experience playing full drum kit. I didn't really know how it worked. And many of our early shows, it was pretty common for the drum kit to collapse mid-set, or you know, one of the cymbals slowly starts descending because I didn't know how to set up the stands.
You didn't
right.
tighten it or whatever. Yeah, that's happened to me too.
You know, the kick drum falls over in the middle of the set. It was pretty common. So not a ton. I had been in a couple of other rock bands in college, but nothing, you know, nothing of the level of recording and touring that this band did. But we played so often and played so many live shows that it just sort of started to get better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, practice enough.
Yeah. I learned how to actually set the kit up so it would stay up through the entire set. Some
that's
part
good.
of it wouldn't fall apart. Yeah.
Did you ever do the thing where you put the tape on the carpet and that's where you put your stand legs every time?
No.
I never did that either, but a lot of people said, that it's a useful way to remember how to say your. I was like, why not just remember?
I don't think I ever had that level of professionalism.
Right. Yeah, same here. I would always have not always, but like a lot of times I just put a big cinder block or something heavy from the bar in front of my drum so they didn't slide or whatever.
I was always impressed by the methodologies of other drummers that we would play with. And
Yeah.
I would say, like, that seems like a great idea. That would probably make a lot of sense. I don't think I ever had the moxie to come up with a program or a method of setting things up. So it was always a little different every time.
What about, so reality sets in for the rest of you guys. Forbes wants to continue. Did he get other members, or like did he continue with that name? Give me some history there if you know it.
Yeah, so the way that it ended, it turned out that Carl and Jenny both went back to school to get their CPAs at about the same time.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So they just didn't have time to rehearse anymore. And I don't think we officially said, that's it, we're broken up.
Yeah.
But there was an understanding when they both basically in the same week said, we both decided to go back and get our CPAs, and we need a career. Touring as much as we did was rough for a while. Coming back after 3 months on the road and basically having enough money to pay rent and then figure out what you're going to do for a job until you leave again was pretty taxing. And so when they did that, there was kind of a transition. John got, we were also working on a record that was almost done at the time. So he backfilled a couple of spots in the band to get that record recorded.
That was the last one. The, what's it called?
I don't have a copy of it, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I wasn't involved with the actual recording of it, but
okay.
I trained the replacement. Basically taught him the drum parts, and then I think they recorded it themselves.
Really?
I think it was a self-release thing.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I don't know if I've heard that one. Okay.
But after that, John and I still played some on some different side projects. We backed Kelly Hogan for a while and actually did a few recordings with her.
Okay.
A really cool split 7-inch with her and Nico Case called the Crisco Sessions, and we both did Loretta Lynn covers.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty fun.
Find that. Do you have a copy of that?
I do, yeah. So we kept in touch. We played a little. I had a roommate who was a pretty decent solo songwriter, and I did some recording with him for a while.
Okay.
And then just kind of realized that if I couldn't do it full time and it couldn't be as fun as that project, I'd rather just not do it at all.
Okay.
And that's sort of where I ended up. We all traveled well. Writing songs was easy. It was very much a no drama ever situation.
Gotcha.
Everybody was doing it to have a good time. We didn't take ourselves that seriously. And the few other bands I dabbled with after that, it was the opposite. Everything was lots of drama,
Getting signed and
just kind of not fun. And for me, was the key ingredient, the thing that kept it in.
Couldn't agree more.
But John's new band is great. They've played here a couple times, as you know. Seen them, called Tijuana Hercules.
Tijuana Hercules, yeah. Great band.
And we're actually seeing them next week. They're playing on the Monday before we move here. So
Oh, really?
we're going to have one last dash with them in Chicago before we leave to move here full time. So
That's great.
yeah,
Where are they playing?
Hideout.
Oh, I love that. I love that venue too. Okay, so when you pretty much kind of retired from music, what it was like late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there?
2000, 2001,
Okay.
I think.
And then you started, well, first of all, your wife is a Dubuque girl, and you met her around this time or a little later? Or?
A little later.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to piece together a little bit of history. So, when did you, okay, you've explained your job to me a few times, and I still don't think I get it. I'm going to have you do it again. For some reason, I picture you in charge of, like, people's lives. Like with a push of a button, you could maybe have somebody killed. I'm sure that's not accurate.
It's way more interesting than it really is.
I don't know. For some reason, like you start to like explain it, and I don't know. Like I can't wrap my brain around it, and I feel like I picture you in like a control room. I don't know. But what exactly do you do?
I want the job that you have in your head. 'Cause it sounds way cooler
I
than
do
my
too,
job.
I think.
No, I work in a team that manages a data center for a global company. So it's a pretty big IT presence.
Okay.
And it's all of their equipment for all their offices around the world is in Chicago. And I work with a team that manages server virtualization and storage for them.
Okay.
So it's basically full-time monitoring, proactive kind of data IT gig. But no, I wouldn't say I'm in control of anyone's life. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm still gonna romanticize your position there. But okay, so when did you start doing that? Was that shortly after you were done with Mount Shasta, or
It was.
During maybe even?
No, it was impossible to have a full-time job when you were doing that. I did odd jobs all over the place, things that would let you take 4 months a year off and come back to.
Okay.
Bartended, waited tables, was a bike messenger, was a bike mechanic in a bike shop,
Okay.
all sorts of stuff. When we decided to stop practicing, recording, touring full-time, I got a job at this company editing their business journal. And
The company you're at now?
right.
Okay.
And I've been with them for 16 years now, various jobs, but got into their IT team about 6 years ago.
Oh wow. Okay. So had you had IT training prior?
No,
No?
I studied literature.
Really?
Yeah.
That's all it took?
Yeah, I'm not a mathematician and not a scientist, but I have great reading comprehension skills.
Well, I guess that's all it takes. Do you think that you ever? I mean, besides, I guess you and me and Ian have talked about our country band with 2 drummers, or you're gonna play lap steel. Is that what it is? And I'm gonna play drums or whatever. Besides that, which is, am I out of line saying it's sort of like fantasy, or like maybe I would love to do it, but like.
I think the time has come for me to set up the drum kit again.
That is what I'm asking. Do you have the desire to play again, be in a band, that sort of setting?
I do. I think this change of venue is going to be a good thing for me.
That's right, because you're moving to Dubuque next week.
Right.
Right? Full time. I mean, you've been coming back and forth for a long time anyway, but.
There's a great music scene here, and all the people that I've met through you and the other people who have bands here, and people are nice, and it seems like a very friendly community, and just very different.
I think it is
very
too.
easy.
Cool. What sort of do you have something in mind? Are you looking toward country? Do you want to play country music?
I would love to.
I would love to too. I've never. I mean, I guess I was sort of in Kerosene Circuit. Matt and I were in, and that was, I don't know. Would you call it sort of country? It was country enough. But what you and Ian and I have always talked about was like the classic country covers, and more specifically the sound. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I think it would be something totally different. We, Kelly's stuff was sort of country. So when John and I did that stint with her for about a year and did some recording, it was the first time I had, played something other than Mount Shasta style rock on stage.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It was really nice to do a set and not have to change clothes after.
What do you mean change? Oh, because you're sweating.
Yeah. So, the brushes and
I thought maybe Forbes put in a dress policy or something.
No, satin shirts were the de rigueur, but there's no policy about that.
No, that's just what everybody likes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are, I guess, I know that you've been active in at least going to shows in art events and stuff around town. Like, you would say that the Dubuque is comparable to Chicago, really? Like, in the days when you were playing?
Not directly comparable. I think it's a much smaller scene. Obviously.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think it seems like the kind of place where any bands that are playing are actually good. So you don't have to filter through as much crap, because if a band has a show, then they probably deserve to be on stage and they're worth checking out.
That's true.
Don't know that I've ever seen a bad show.
There are definitely some crap bands in this town. You guys know who you are. I just want that to be said. Actually, sadly, they probably don't know who they are. That's okay. That's okay, too. We need crap bands, too. Well, you don't really have anything really to plug because you haven't really been playing too much.
No, I was actually going to ask you if I could borrow a drum kit because I gave mine to the guy who replaced me in Mount Shasta.
How is that, training a replacement?
It's actually pretty fun.
Was it?
In the vein of most things Mount Shasta, he was a mutual friend who didn't know how to play an instrument, but we
What was
thought
that
it would
guy's
be
name?
Chad, and he played with John and Tijuana Hercules. He was their first drummer.
Oh, wow,
So,
okay.
But
How long have they been a band? Do you know?
pretty much since John and I got kicked off the Kelly Hogan gig.
Oh, wow,
He
okay,
was
so
already
that
starting
long.
to put that together. So 7 years. I think they have 4 records out.
4 records? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow, I think I've heard one of them. Well, that's cool. I like that band. It's always nice to see him. I just met him, I guess, through you, like when he came, not at the Monk show, but the second one, the Aaron L show, I think. Seems like a nice guy. I actually saw him at the PRF barbecue a couple years ago too, 2013.
He's quite a character.
He's cool. He's a cool guy. I like him. But yeah, of course. I mean, I have 2 drum sets, I think. And then like the pieces of a third one that I've had since high school.
That one sounds perfect for me.
Okay.
The pieces one.
Okay. Yeah, we'll work something out. But I hope that we can jam together. I know that we both play drums, but do you play lap steel or any other instrument?
No.
No. It's
So,
perfect. You're going to be perfect for the job.
It might take some time for me to get up to speed, but
Any ideas for covers that you want to do for this project of ours?
you know, Ian and I have been talking about this for a while, and
Yeah, I know. I think we've spitballed some ideas as well.
I think originally we were keying in and doing some the Conway and Loretta duet songs and just doing a whole set of those. But
Ian's going to do the Loretta part. Just kidding you, buddy. I love you.
there was talk of a female singer who would take care of that part, but
Oh, yeah.
this was years ago. I'm not sure where we stand with it.
Were we talking with Aaron? Talking Aaron about that, maybe? Oh, you did mention that. I thought you were kidding because you were wasted. An Asian country singer. Why not? Stranger things have happened. All right. Well, I think that's about all I have. Do you have anything to add about Dubuque or Wisconsin? Do you want to talk about your new place in Wisconsin? That's exciting.
We love the Upper Midwest. I'm excited to move here
Yeah.
for music scene amongst many, many reasons. But it's been a pleasure getting to know you and all the people, your extended
Likewise, my friend.
music scene here, and I look forward to seeing more shows and seeing where it goes.
Cool. I'll have to make sure that now that you're going to be in town all the time, I'll have to make sure to send you a text when we have a show down here in this space. Because right behind you, there's the stage that Dredge was on 2 days ago, and I thought it would be kind of strange, you know, because they're so loud, and you know their drummer has a huge setup, but it was actually really awesome. And so far, all the shows that we've had down here have been really awesome. So hopefully that.
I look forward to it.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it.
Always
All
a
right.
pleasure.
Cool. Okay. Now, see, didn't I seem a little bit off? I don't want to spend too much more time dwelling on this, but you know, I definitely did feel like I was a little bit off. And like I said, maybe it's just me. I hope it's just me. But either way, it was a really good conversation, and I appreciate Jason taking the time out in his Labor Day weekend to come down and have a chat here. Now, don't forget the show on September 27th is DAAC Music Series 6, and it's going to be Mutilated by Zombies, I Like You Go Home, National Hero, and Sept of Memnon. Donations at the door, 7 p.m. showtime. And, of course, the closing reception of the Salon show on October 2nd, featuring Dylan Sires and the Neighbors and the Multiple Cat. Both shows that you should not miss, and more to come. So thanks for tuning in again. And this is John Eagle and Ruix Podcast, and we'll see you next time.